Welcome to 30 Minutes with Averti Professional Managers webinar series. Our topic today is by our Cecilia Osoka.
Today, we'll be looking at achieving functional and operational excellence, a step-by-step guide. We'll be looking at how we do the work, policies and procedures, time to document the policies and procedures, the benefits of documented procedures, and of course, accelerating work excellence and culture with standard operating procedure manuals. The manuals we call the SOP manuals. This is how we do the work is all too familiar with us, the SMEs. This is the way we transfer knowledge and skills to our staff. But how effective is it in ensuring that our employees carry out their job functions the correct way? Really, it does not communicate guidelines and step-by-step methods of ensuring that the work is consistently and properly carried out by different people carrying out the same functions. So what are policies and procedures? Before then, let's look at something that should spur us on to ensuring that we have policies and procedures. And this is an anonymous saying, or an anonymous saying by an anonymous COO. Many new funds may see that these policies and procedures as something to be implemented after a fund has launched. But if the manager wants to attract institutional money, these must be in place from the start. So what is a policy? A policy is a guiding principle used to set a direction in an organization. And a policy communicates a direction which answers the what. So an example of a policy is that the petty cash should be maintained on an impress system. A company procedure assists companies in building consistency. Note the word consistency. And it means that the procedure communicates the steps you take in the direction of answering the how question. So an example of a procedure is petty cash weekly limit is to be set at 70,000 naira. Single expenses above 10,000 naira will be paid for by bank transfer. That is a step in the right direction of ensuring that your petty cash policy works. So we say that policies and procedures are used together to empower the people responsible for a process with the direction and consistency they need for the successful process improvement way or process improvement channel in their organization. So policies and procedures must necessarily be used together. And they're usually documented for every department functions in the form of a manual known as the Standard Operating Policies or SOP manuals. So how do we communicate these policies and procedures? Like I earlier said, we are looking at manuals. Employees' job descriptions are derived from these manuals. Employee performances are measured, are praised, sanctioned by the adherence to the documented policy and procedure guidelines. And therefore, these SOP manuals create the necessary order to work being done and should be continuously updated with necessary changes as required. So who should document the SOP manuals? Should we be using our internal staff supervised, or would we like to contract them out to external consultants to work with our staff? But somebody somewhere has to document these manuals. It doesn't matter the size of your organization. You have to have some form of documented procedure to ensure that the staff are properly guided. And what are the advantages of these documented procedures and the possible constraints? People are properly directed on the job. There will be consistent procedures across functions, and work is easily identified and work quality consistently improved. output quality is improved, accountability is sure, and of course, your appraisal and reward systems remain transparent and easy to implement. We, however, have the constraints of staff unavailability for reviews and updates, and this may impose challenges to the organization. But there's no challenge that cannot be overcome. And these can be overcome by instituting a policy, for example, of immediate documentation of these procedure changes for implementation after due approvals, and an overall review of all SOPs every 3 years. Why should we have this? Because things change. A lot of things are changing, and therefore there has to be a policy for review and redocumentation. So work is continuous, it is assured at all times and in all circumstances. What happens to work? We're talking about accelerating work excellence with the culture of our standard operating manuals. How do we accelerate work excellence? The manuals will always specify the policies, the responsibilities, and the step-by-step instructions. It will facilitate skills acquisitions on the job and knowledge transfer to employees on the job, new to the organization and the department, and for changing job functions. Of course, an understanding that responsibilities, appraisals, rewards, and sanctions are tied to the SOPs ensures the achievements of these set standards. And what will these set standards achieve for us at the end? They are going to help us evolve and create a work culture that will improve over time. So we say that process management starts with documented SOPs. And when we talk about process management, what do we mean? We say process management is where you're putting all that you need to put in terms of guidelines, and aligning these guidelines with the managers and people who are supposed to achieve the objectives of the organization. And therefore, what then happens at the end of the day in accelerating quality outputs? The documentation of these business policies and procedures is a sure catalyst for business operations growth and excellence. And we again want to emphasize that process management starts with the documented SOPs. But we want to package ourselves for peer review, self-review, investor engagement and expansion locally and universally. The availability of these documented SOPs are essential considerations that cannot be ignored. So we need to discuss why we need to evolve and begin to document what we do, which is in essence our step-by-step procedures in your organization. Do you have documented manuals for your departments? Are they available for your staff use? Have your staff been trained on the use of these manuals? So who is responsible for documenting, updating, and reviewing the SOPs? Indeed, the size of your business doesn't matter. What matters is that there is continuity. People know that there is something that they can work with that teaches them what to do. And at the end of the day, there is a work culture that ensures continuity and quality of output. So let's discuss the step-by-step procedures you apply in your organization for ensuring skills and knowledge transfers to your staff. Thank you.